When you work in education leadership, you don't get off at 5 o'clock. Your mind is always on the clock, thinking of ways to solve problems for your students, parents, and teachers. On the Clock is your go-to podcast to learn valuable insights from education leaders across the United States. I'm your host, Todd Dallas-Lamb, former White House appointee to the U.S. Department of Education, and we are now on the clock. Welcome back to On the Clock. I am your host, Todd Dallas-Lamb, and my guest today is Dr. Theresa Williams, who is the superintendent of Plano Independent School District, a district with more than 49,000 students across 74 schools and programs. With nearly 30 years in the profession, she believes that a strong education system is essential to the development of tomorrow's workforce and the next generation of leaders. And that's what we're going to talk about today is building the next generation workforce and leadership. Dr. Williams, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it. How are you in Texas today?
Great. Thank you, Todd. Thanks for having me on the clock today, and also for picking a topic that's one of my favorite things to talk about. So thank you.
Before we get started, we were taping this in late August. Have you guys started school yet? And is it still hot as can be down in Texas?
It is incredibly hot. It's miserably hot, but yes, we started school. Actually, we've been in about a week and a half. So,
well, thank you again for being on the show, and I'm hoping it's off to a smooth start. I'm guessing football season is a big topic of conversation as the pads are cracking as we get into Friday Night Lights in Texas.
Well, it's almost that time of year. I love this time of year. We have a high school that's right next to our building, and so the band is out practicing in the morning. So when we're getting out of our cars, we can hear the band, and so just really puts us in the spirit of back to school and also football season. And so yes, it's incredibly hot. So our students are working out early in the morning, later in the evening, indoors. It's pretty unbearable right now.
If I didn't know you at all, I would know right away that you clearly are from Texas. You have the accent. Is that true?
That is true. Born and raised, I'm a Texas girl.
So the topic today is I wanted to talk about college and career readiness. It's a passion of yours, and as I think back to my own days in high school, college and career were sort of binary options. And I'll speak in generalities because that's what the hell, we might as well do that. The college kids were all dressed in polo shirts in 1986 and with little alligators on them. And the career folks were in metal shop, and they were in auto shop and wood shop, and they had AC/DC t-shirts on. It's a lot more complicated today. And I noticed that the CTE director has gained in influence in school districts in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And I'm guessing that's because as we've progressed with technology replacing a lot of the manual work that were the only options, not college for me when I was growing up, these options are really need to be sorted out, don't they, by our school districts to help students figure out what's their option. And then the other element that's changed is college is really expensive now. When I was going and looking at colleges, it was perhaps $5,000 or $8,000 a year. And as my sons are telling me and showing me, it can be up to $80,000 a year. So it's really helpful, isn't it, for school districts to be able to sort out what are the passions of a student and what directions they need to go.
Yeah, so there's a lot there. I grew up I was in high school in the late 80s, so I could totally relate to the polo shirts or the Izod versus the AC/DC or Def Leppard shirts. But, back in our time, it was you're either going to college or you're and they were vocational programs. They weren't even called career and technical programs. They were all vocational. And I think kids were kind of funneled into two different pathways, and that has really changed a lot. And what we've come to realize, is that really it's preparing students for both. And a lot of the things that we probably learned back in our day in the late 80s through vocational programs are some soft skills that transfer into the college world. But I mean, there's so many things. You put a lot in that intro. I don't know where you want me to
Yeah.
pick up, but
Well, is college, let me ask you a direct question then. Is college as important as it was to financial success as it was when you and I were going to high school?
I think it's very individualized. I'll put it that way. So for us in our time, it was college and not, and then I think we've the roads have collided, and we're preparing kids for both. And a lot of the programs that students now have access to perhaps maybe didn't exist, or they were not as robust during our time as they are now, that prepare students for that path for both of those roads to collide. Um, the cost of colleges and universities it's incredibly expensive. Our youngest just graduated in May, and he went to my alma mater, and the cost of what we paid for him to go to school versus what we were paying 30 years ago is really night and day. And one of the things that public education has done over the last 20 years has really bridged high school to college, or bridged high school to their future through early college type of programs or collegiate academies, as well as preparing students for the workforce and building that pipeline through students having opportunities to earn certifications. And it really has helped kids then perhaps help supplement or pay for their way through school. I want to give you two experiences of the types of programs. Kids are able to graduate now with their
Sure.
associate's degree in high school and really shave off 2 years. Or for kids who want to become doctors, or they know that their pathway is going to take a master's or a higher level, they're able to save those dollars by participating and starting that road for themselves in high school.
I also note, as I talk to a lot of superintendents around the country, you'll hear college and career, but in Texas, you add military to that, don't you?
We do, and in Plano, we're very proud of all three of our senior high schools have JROTC. We've had them for many years. They're award winning. And again, it's another area that prepares students for both. It's preparing students for life. It prepares them for college. It prepares them for the military and those that are pursuing that. Currently, our um, the commandant for the U.S. Marines is a Plano graduate, and General Eric Smith. So I do not know General Smith, but he is a proud. We're very proud of him, and he was in band in high school, and he's made it all the way to the top ranks in the U.S. Marines, and so
I know a little bit about where he works. He works at a military complex in Washington, D.C. called Eighth and I, and it's effectively the president's of the United States, whoever that might be. It's his own personal group of Marines. They do shows. If you're ever in D.C., I strongly recommend on in the summertime to go to Eighth and I and watch that. He must be very proud to be from your district, and you guys must be really proud of him. That is a huge post. What does that ROTC pathway look like? So if I'm a student, do you start in the military on ROTC as a freshman, or where does that connection start?
yeah, so students can start their course where it's a 4 year program, or they can join later. But students can join as ninth grade. It's a course that they take. They go through training. They have competitions that they get to compete in. Students are also, and I apologize for not knowing the acronym, but students, one of the assessments that the military provides, and it's called ASVAB, ASVAB, and it's an aptitude test. Anyone who's wanting to join the military would take that as part of their entry exam, and really the feedback and data that's received from that information really crosses over into types of careers, and part of their part of their planning. And so that is an assessment that we have to offer to students all throughout the state of Texas that they can take their junior or senior year. It's not mandatory, but it's something that we do offer in addition to students taking either SAT or ACT in preparation for their future.
Is that also is that a is that a couple of different options that you can go? A student who does that probably has a leg up if they want to go to a military academy like the Naval Academy or West Point, or directly into the military with a leg up on perhaps becoming a junior officer, in that role.
Certainly, the training and preparation helps students a great deal if that's the path that they're wanting to take.
Yeah, that's great. You have a district that's 50,000 students or so, and how many of your students go on to college? I would imagine Plano. I've been around your area. I think that's a pretty nice area of Dallas, and bet you have a lot of parents whose expectations are college or bust.
We do. We have, as far as our students that go to college or prepare to go to college, are well over 65%, which
Well,
is pretty high for an entire district. We actually have more than that actually go and persist in college. That is something that we're very proud of. Our students perform academically very well. We also have a large group of students, even our students that are on the pathway to college, that are participating in our some of our career technical education programs. And so we have a health science academy that prepares students for the medical profession that is very popular. And that's just one of several others. I think the most exciting thing for us in Plano ISD is that last year our voters supported in passing a bond, and so we're going to be building our very first ever career and technical education center in the next 2 years. And so right now the teams are looking to the future, making sure that we're implementing programs that are high wage, high demand. And also, we want to be mindful of our local industry and ensuring that we're helping build our pipeline in Collin County and Plano. We want our kids to come back home after they graduate.
What do you interact with a lot of business leaders who are, and I'm guessing you do, and what are they telling you that they need more of?
I'm hearing a lot of uh, engineering is always top of the list. Electrical engineering. They're also needing a workforce. So electricians is coming up. Cybersecurity is one. Anything that's in that's web based, whether it you know communications such as a podcast.
Yep.
That's a growing field for us. The medical profession is definitely a high demand area. So those logistics is also at the top of the list.
I also saw somewhere that you guys have a cosmetology emphasis. Is that, tell me a little bit more about that.
So Tony and Guy, which is a international national brand, they
Yep.
started their hairdressing academy right here in Plano. And when they came to this country, they started their American business in Plano, and so they we're I guess maybe a year and a half or so ago, we had the opportunity to have some conversation of, how can we partner and send some of our students to the academy that's right here in Plano. And so we were able to come up with an agreement, and this is our first year. It has the capacity for about 30 students per year. Starts their junior year, and it's a 2 year program. We are very fortunate. Their partnership is exclusive to Plano ISD as part of this being our community and our shared community. And and our students are getting to learn from the best of the best and a national brand on hairdressing. So that's the first of our new academies and types of partnerships that we're looking for as far as for our students.
Do I have that right? Is that the right word for it? Cosmetology?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I didn't mess that up. That's great. I I I'm amazed about, getting back to the topic of choices, the choices we have in this country to do almost anything you want to do. I have, I'll give you a couple examples. I have friends who went to the Naval Academy and learned how to fly a $50 million airplane and decided to become a home builder after they got out of the military, right? I actually didn't need that degree to become a home builder. I've had companies in the ed tech world that were run by now millionaires who dropped out of college because they had so much experience coding even before they got to college, and they started businesses while they were in college that made them so much money they just decided to drop out and focus full time on making that money. What I keep coming back to and what I hear from you is what you're doing is you're putting a buffet of choices out for students to choose from, and find the passion that they have and match that up to a career. That's got to be really exciting.
It's extremely exciting. When kids feel like they belong, they're tapping into their passion, they're excited, and they're going to succeed and they're going to find a way. And so we have to provide those. Uh, we need to provide the menu of choices and those opportunities for students to find what it is that they want to do in their future. For some, they may change their mind along the way. Um, but I think it's important that we start to have those conversations at a very young age. And so letting kids learn about different careers as early as elementary school, giving them an opportunity to explore some things in middle school, and then high school is a great place to really think about, do I want to be a nurse? And they're in a program where they can go out to hospitals and do some clinical rotations. And for some, it may be a validation of, yep, this is exactly what I want to do. And now I'm going to go to college to do this career. And for others, it's like, no way, I don't want to do this. I'm going to try something else instead of, um, thinking you're going to go to college, you're going to go and it's pre-med, right, and you figure out 2 years in that that's not for you, and now you're wasting time and money. Yeah, I think it's incredibly important that we offer our students a menu of options, that we help them find what they're passionate about, what they're interested in, and then high school is a perfect space for them to really kind of get a taste of what that's like before they go to college and perhaps waste a year or two in a field that they end up finding out that they're not interested in.
You mentioned starting early too. That's a new concept. College and career used to be a high school thing, didn't it? And now we really have moved it into middle and elementary.
We really have. So in Plano ISD, our kids start exploring with different types of coding and robotics as early as elementary school. And then the official Texas career and technical education courses, they start in seventh grade. And so that is something that we're looking at expanding and implementing at a greater level in Plano ISD. But really, the middle school component is heavily on career exploration. And a lot of our middle schools provide career days so that kids can start to research and think about what's next for them, as well as a lot of our students are just our seventh graders, or actually some of our sixth and seventh graders are ready for high school courses at a younger age. And so as kids are ready, we want to make sure that those opportunities are available for them.
It's really the oldest question in education that almost every student has asked: why am I learning this? And I think what you're doing is you're answering that question.
Exactly. So I was one of those kids, like
I was
sitting in algebra going, why am I learning this? I'm never going to use it. And so it's adding that relevance to what they're learning and application to what they're learning in the classroom.
You referenced your alma mater, but you didn't tell us which one that is. Where'd you go to college?
So I went to Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas. So I'm a proud Red Raider, and had a great college experience. That's where I met my college sweetheart, and our youngest also went to Texas Tech.
What's funny is I'm now meeting a lot of my son is 18 and looking at colleges for next year. And there are a lot of girls that he knows that just want to go to a really good school that has a really good football team. I never ever dreamt that anybody would choose a college career based on how good the football team is, but that's real, I think, now.
I think it's part of that college experience. And so, we're very proud of Patrick Mahomes. He
Yep.
is a Red Raider, and he has done a great job of spreading our Red Raider spirit across, the country. He's incredibly talented. But it is a part of that experience. Our oldest son went to Texas A&M, and that has a huge lots of traditions, but a huge football college vibe, and
Yep.
that is part
12th
of
man, him and the 12th man, right?
yeah. So it's part of that college culture, and so I think it's part of that social aspect of that kids enjoy, whether they're in high school or college. They want to connect with their friends, and they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so I think it's important that we have those experiences.
Dr. Theresa Williams, you make Plano ISD sound like a really cool place to be. I hope one day to check a box of going down there and watching a Friday night football game. Until then, I want to thank you for being on the show. This has been a great conversation, and have a great school year.
Thanks for having me, and we'd love to have you and host you at any time. So you just let us know.
You got a deal. I'm going to make that happen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on your favorite podcast platform. On the Clock is part of the Strategos Podcast Network. To view the entire lineup of shows, please visit us at strategosgroup.com. See you next time.